Alrighty, what's up, y'all? Kevin Kuhn here from Athlete Factors, and I am here with Luke Scribner. What's going on, Luke?
What's going on, man?
Just living the dream. So, Luke, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a cross-country and track and field coach at Texas A&M Commerce, as you can see, repping it today. And then also I help with our strength and conditioning program over here as well. Most of the people that I work with are, volleyball, softball, basketball, and then obviously track and field. So that's part of my job, and the other job is working with the track team, just the distance runners mostly, and, create their programs and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I've known you for, really since I moved down here to Texas back in 2012. So
yeah,
I think you were still in high school at the time, and still doing.
Just graduated, I think.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Still doing a little training with Ambrose.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about your athletic background, and then you can go into some of your academics as well.
Yeah, so I was pretty much what they call a super athlete. No, I'm just kidding. No, I came from a small town, and kind of did a little bit of everything. Football, basketball, baseball, track, cross country, all that kind of stuff. But I really focused on cross country because it's where I kind of excelled at. And when I ran cross country, I was a regional qualifier, all that stuff, but never went to state. So anyways, I got a chance to go continue my running career and education. I went to McMurray University for 1 year, and then I transferred to Tarleton State, where I finished out and All-American, All-Conference a couple of times, that kind of stuff. So, it was a lot of fun going to Tarleton and having a great team and a bunch of people that I could push myself with, because I've never really had that before, coming from a small town. A lot of people have that small town feeling, and they're just out there doing it by themselves, which I've had that a lot growing up. So I don't know. It's been a journey. So after I still continue to run. I run marathons now mostly, just because I have old man legs and I don't really have the turnover that I used to. I say that at 25, but that's pretty much my athletic background, I guess you could say. Most of it's been running oriented with people that I've met over the years, and it's a lot of fun. So I enjoy it.
Nice. Yeah. I think, like me, you were a late bloomer.
Yeah, for sure.
So there are plenty of people who were just they were just always fast. They were just always good. And I was, being from a very small town myself, I was good in my small town, even though I wasn't that great early on. And then, you want to go to the big meets. You want to compete against, the best runners, and then you start to realize, man, I've got more work to do before I can get to that level. So
you go to one of those meets against some of those big 5A and 6A schools, and they just take you down, man. But it wasn't that I was bad. I ran 4:24 for the mile, 2:01 for the 800, and then 16:40 for the 5K. So for those, if there are younger kids listening or anything along those lines, they have the opportunities to get a lot better over time. And it can be with just a year of training, or, even people that are older too, that haven't really done good training. You can get faster really quick, no matter what your age. So
for sure. So did you notice the most significant change in your performance while you were still in high school, or was it when you got to college that you made quicker jumps in your performance and fitness?
Yeah, I think it's once I got to the college level, because I had people pushing me all the time. And I think that's a big thing when you have people to train with. because it gets you out of your comfort zone sometimes that you may not do by yourself. And that's one thing that I really struggled with was getting out of my own head. You know, a lot of people will say running is 90% mental, and that's 100% correct. You know, I firmly believe that because that's one thing that I did have trouble with. And once I finally realized, like, hey, just go and let these people push you, then you get a lot better, you know? And that's when I started seeing those big jumps I went from a 1645K to a 1550, you know, in 1 year, and then from 1550 down to 1530. So it was like some pretty big jumps. But the biggest one was probably my 8K. Like 8K is 5 miles, for those people who don't know. And I went from like a 28-minute guy when I first got there, you know, and I was like, man, this is, because I was a 800 miler in high school. I was like, this is horrible, man. What is this? You know, and then I show up at Tarleton, and I have 3 guys on my team that ran sub 410 in the mile. You know, and the coach was like, all right, hey, you're a 10K guy now. So welcome to it, man. You know, but I mean, those guys were awesome to train with because they were super fast, you know. And then, you know, from the 8K, I went from like a 28-minute guy, which is not good, and then all the way down to like mid 25s when I was, you know, about to graduate. So I feel like that was a pretty big jump. Yeah. Yep. And you know, from basically going from 540 a mile to 50 something a mile in a couple of years. So it's something it took some time to kind of realize, hey, this is what you should be doing instead of, you know, whatever the case may be. So
yeah, it's nice when you can really like hone in on like the group of, or for some, like for track it's like a group of events, but like when you lock in on what you're going to be able to focus on and actually spend time training for. So when like high school, you're jumping around, like you're doing the 4x4, you're doing the 2 mile, like it's like, what am I doing here? Like,
yeah, that's what I told somebody one time is I did at our home meet. I still remember this day too. I did the 800, ran 202, turned around, tried to break the school record in the mile, which was 424. I ran 428, and then I ran the 4x4 and ran a 52-second split. Like those 3 races, like back to back to back when I was in high school. Yeah. And I get home that night and I just like lay there on the couch and my legs just go into instant like cramp, you know? And I'm like, just locking up. This is horrible. So, but you know, in college you never really had to do that unless, I mean, obviously my buddy that was a national champion, like every once in a while for a good workout, he would do those kinds of things, you know, but for us non-national champions, you know, you get your 1 or 2 races and get to have some fun. So,
yeah, there was one meet I had to do in high school, my senior year. It was a dual meet, and I was like, Coach, why am I even here? Like, this is absolutely pointless. And he's like, this is a workout for you. You're going to run the 400. I want you to go 50 flat or faster, and then you'll have about 10 minutes, and then I want you to win the 2 mile. I'm like, Coach, this is stupid. I don't want to do this.
Yeah, you're like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, I was like, all right, well, how fast do I have to run the 2 mile? And he's like, I don't care as long as you win. I'm like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
And then there was one time in college. It's like one of those like fluke days where it doesn't matter how you feel, like your body is just primed to move.
Yeah.
And it was the weather was so bad. It was our home meet. I did the 400 hurdles, which was the first time I'd ever run it, and I finished right behind my best friend, who is a 400-meter hurdler, and I was like yelling at him the whole way down the straightaway coming towards the finish. I was like, I'm gonna get you, and he was like kept looking over his shoulder. I PR'd in the 1500. I had a solid split in the 4x8.
Yeah.
And I split a 49 in the 4x4. And I was like, what just happened? I had like 3 PRs in one day. And I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, and the weather's not even that good. And you're like, oh well.
Yeah. I I was like, well, it's home meet. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. There's like 5 other teams there or something.
Yeah.
But, sometimes you have those days. You
Yeah.
can't plan for it. When it
Yeah,
happens, it just happens.
You just want those days to happen on the big meets or whatever the event you're trying to prime for, not just some
Yeah.
random home meet. You're like,
Yeah. It was like
You
our
gotta-
second outdoor meet of the season.
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah. That's when the training program. You're like, Coach, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah. I was All-American that year, though, in the steeplechase. So
It's good.
it was
Yeah.
decent. But so, perfect segue. So how do you plan your training program so that towards the end of the season, when things really matter for your athletes, they are in the best shape they can be, not only like cardiovascularly, fitness wise, but since you also do strength and conditioning, is it important for your athletes to be as physically as strong as possible towards the end of the season?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things that I do. I'll start with like the running side of it and then kind of come back with the strength training stuff. With the running side, I do I like, and this is how I create the training plan, right? So we do like a base phase, which is like 8 to 10 weeks long, and during the summertime. So this is where like we can really make or break a season. Like, because if people don't train over the summertime and get a good base, then there's nothing that we can do, right? We're just having to build over the season, and we're way behind.
Mm-hmm.
So the base phase is like, easy running, 45, 50 minutes, 60 minutes a day, maybe throwing some strides, which is like 6 by 20 seconds at mile pace, 40 seconds recovery, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then from the base phase, I go into like a strength phase. So this is when we would like start implementing more of our strength training stuff, but I add like a lot of heel work, longer volume tempos, just really high aerobic stuff. That's really, really like a lot longer and those kinds of things. And then from there, I go into a specific phase. So that's about 6 to 8 weeks long, where the specific phase is when we start dialing race specific stuff. So if we're doing, say I have an 800 athlete and a 5K athlete, because we don't have the 2 mile in college. The 800 athlete's going to be doing a little bit faster stuff, more turnover, race pace style stuff than the 10K person. The 10K person is going to maybe do 20 by 400 at 10K pace, and the other one's going to do 3 by 500, with 10 minutes rest in between or something like that, So as the year goes on, I train the athlete for where they're currently at, not where we want to be. So, and that's something that helps me get them where I think they need to be. Because if you say, okay, hey, say I just have a 5K runner. I want to run 15 flat, coach. Okay, so let's do a time trial. And like if there are people that training right now, like you should be doing a time trial or a test run or something like that to see where you're currently at. Because most of the time when they come in, they're not going to be in 15 flat shape. So say if they do I like to do 3,000 or 2 mile time trial because that's the closest to VO2 max as you can get. So when you go, okay, hey, let's do 3,000 meters, and they go out and they run 9:30, something like that. For 2 mile, that'd be somewhere around 10:05 or so. So that's right at, say, the 5 flat pace. All right. So they got to get from 5 flat pace in 2 miles to 4:48 for 3 miles, which is 15 flat for 5K. So then, okay, hey, once I start their training plan, I'll say, all right, this is where you're at right now. So this is how I'm going to base all of your training off of, and they're going to be training at a level that they're able to, so they can continue to grow and get built faster and faster and faster. So the next time we either test or have a race or something like that, then we can bump them up because they should be getting faster. And this helps a lot with not overtraining, because I would much rather have somebody on the line undertrained than overtrained any day of the week. Because that help, when you're overtrained, that's when your strength goes down, I feel like, recovery is going up, like everything that you're just not, performing at the best level.
Yeah.
Um,
Mentally, you're just not there either. And like,
yeah.
if you can't show up and mentally be involved, like you said, like racing is 90% mental. So
Mhm.
if you're overtrained, like you might as well not even show up.
Exactly. So, um, and then like from the strength training side of it, over the summertime, I like to do a lot of dynamic stuff. So just keep them moving because most of them are just now starting to put in a lot of more miles. Like if I have a freshman come in, they're probably putting in more miles than they ever have in their entire life.
Hmm.
We do, for our women, we're anywhere from, 35 on the low end to like 65 miles a week.
Hmm.
So it just depends. Some of them, come from doing 3 miles a day, for 4 days a week kind of thing when they're in high school.
Hmm.
So then they come here and they're expected to run 6 days a week. It's going to be a lot more taxing on their body. So what I like to do is I like to do a lot of plyometric drills, high knees, butt kicks, A skips, B skips, those kinds of things. So we're
Hmm.
working on like the reactiveness of running
Hmm.
and without putting a lot of strain on them. And then we do like a very like minimal, like low weight, high rep, um, like strength training program
Hmm.
where we're focusing on, the core, not just the abs part, the whole
Yeah.
core that goes all the way around the back, everything like that.
Hmm.
Shoulders and then the hip knee complex, those kinds of things.
Hmm.
Um, because if you think about it, like runners get a lot of low back injuries, knee, hip, and ankle injuries. That's the parts that we really, really struggle in.
Hmm.
Um, so whenever I look at those, I try to strengthen those areas as well as, you know, do some prehab almost, so we
Hmm.
don't run into issues. And then
Right.
another thing too that I like about, engaging the whole core is whenever you're running up a hill, most of the time you'll see people and they bend over like this,
Hmm.
because they have a weak back or a weak core or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
When you're running up a hill, if you're doing this, like, and you're bent over, then you're collapsing those lungs, diaphragm's not functioning how it's supposed to,
Hmm.
and you just can't get as much oxygen.
Yep.
Whereas if you're up straight, then you're able to run a little bit better. So
Hmm.
that's kind of, and then so after the specific phase, I go into a 2.5 to 3 week peak phase. Um, so like, and then one thing that I always do is 10 days out from our big meet. Um, so say if we have conference or nationals or whatever the case is that we want to get to,
Hmm.
uh, then I go, okay, hey, here 10 days out. That's when we're gonna have our last like really really big like tough workout. Because you can correct me if I'm wrong. I kind of just throw numbers out there sometimes, but I feel like it takes 72 hours for the body to really like rid all of lactate, like and those kinds of things. So if you do like some super over speed, like 2 or 3 days before the um, 2 or 3 days before the big meet, then you're going to go to the race and say, "Oh man, my legs are still heavy," you
Hmm.
know, because I have I remember like when I was in high school is and some other meets is we would show up to meets like and 2 days beforehand would do so much speed work that we haven't done all year long, and we'd be like, God, like you just get that achy feeling in your legs. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's still like that lactate and all that stuff just and well, it's not lactate, it's the hydrogen that's in your muscles and stuff like that.
Yeah. All just
So
metabolites and garbage from metabolic processes. That is just it takes time to clear all of that out
yeah,
for sure.
exactly. So that's why I like to do my last hard workout 10 days out. And it can be, almost sometimes it can be like a shorter race. So like if you're trying to get ready for a 5K, go race a 800 and then
Mm-hmm.
do some work on the back end of it. Something to get your legs moving. For a
Yep.
marathon, I like to do like maybe like a 8 to 10 mile run or something like that, or like 15 by 1K is something I used to do as well. which is super long workout. It ends up being like 12 or 13 miles, but it's like really, really gets your legs moving and going.
Yeah.
And then, it's just you work progressively throughout the year. It's not, and this is what a lot of people say too. So if they have a background in running, you understand like, all right, hey, we just do tempo work, and then we'll stop doing tempo work and do interval work, and then after we do interval work, then we'll do speed work. That's not how I do it. I kind of have like a 3-week cycle that I do, and each phase we kind of do a little bit more and more and more of a specific thing. So like during the base phase, like we're going to do a little speed work, but it's going to be disguised as hill work or strides or things like that, right? And then we're going to do some interval work and some stuff like that, but it's going to be lower. It's going to be like lower intensity style, and not be like 8 400s at 62 seconds or something like that. It may be 68 seconds or 70 seconds for that person. And then, obviously we're going to have that high-end aerobic work, long tempos, getting a good long run in, those kinds of things. And as we progress through the season, I may do a little bit less aerobic, like high-end aerobic work, and start adding a little bit more, speed work. Whereas, maybe during the strength phase, we were doing a 5-mile tempo and 8 by 30-second hills. When we move into the specific phase, then we may do, okay, hey, we're going to do 2 by 1K at race pace effort. Then we're going to do some faster than race pace stuff. Then we're going to go back to race pace. So you get used to kind of doing those things. And it's all, there's no magic pill. That's what I tell people a lot. There's not a magic pill with running or training or those kinds of things. If you put in good work and you're smart about the progression, then I think that you can really do that. If you feel that same way, kind of like.
I totally agree. Like, the way that I view it, and I was just having a conversation with a guy yesterday who he was asking me just some general questions about endurance training. I was like, you have to accumulate volume.
Yeah.
You've got to put in the miles, and the way that you can get the most well-rounded adaptation is to accumulate some volume where you're at your goal pace. And then you also have to accumulate a little less volume where you're going faster than your goal pace. But then you have to accumulate a lot of volume where you're going a little slower than your goal pace. And when you're doing all of those 3 things, that's how you get a really well-rounded adaptation, so that you're getting the speed aspect, you're getting the just endurance-based, you're spending time being uncomfortable at the pace that you're going to be spending, like racing at, ideally, and then you're just spending a lot of time building up your aerobic base. And like when you're doing all 3 of those, you can get fancy with the numbers and the specifics, and and people like to do that, and they like to track everything on their on their watch and their heart rate monitor, and like that's all really useful information, but to have, as long as you're like you said, just you're putting in the mileage, you're being consistent with it, and you're listening to your body, you're not putting yourself in a position where you're overtrained. Like,
there's a couple of things that I say is, because I used to train high school athletes, and I had some really, really fast high school kids, and now I train college athletes. I can't say kids because they're not really kids anymore, young men and women. And then I also train like post-collegiates and like the older population, not really elderly, like not old people, but people that are in their 30s and 40s and stuff like that. And I have people that have PR'd like later down the road. I just give you like one of my athletes, Michael and man, that guy, like, he got so much better so quick, and I trained him. I think I've trained him for like 2 or 3 months maybe,
Wow.
and just training, like doing some little bit different stuff, like a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more specific, because he was just like running hard all the time, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then I have another guy, Landon. I've been training him for like a year now. He's, you know, mid 30s, and he's PR'd in the 5K, the 10K, and the half marathon, like in his like late 30s.
Wow.
Just because he's just doing like basically those three things. And the ones that I say is the three things that for anybody that wants to run, they can do
Mm-hmm.
a long run. So one day where they're doing, 20% of their total mileage. If you're going to do 30 miles a week, do 20% of whatever that is. 40 miles a week, and that's a good goal for there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to help with like the glycogen depletion and all that stuff, and it's going to help you be able to go farther, longer.
Mm-hmm.
And then easy runs or maintenance runs, is like I like to call them. You know, you shouldn't just run hard every day. Space them out. I like to do long run, 2 days easy, hard workout, 2 days easy, hard workout, then back to a long run kind of thing. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the easy run is where you can, muscle regeneration, work on your form, those
Mm-hmm.
different kinds of things.
Yep.
And then the last one, like, I mean, pretty much like you said, is just doing workouts that give you a stimulus, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it's really simple. Like if you feel like, okay, hey, today I'm just gonna go run a little bit faster. All right, today I'm gonna run 200s, whatever the case may be, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, there's no magic pill. You just
Mm-hmm.
need to like have time running at goal pace for whatever it is. If you're running a 5K, obviously don't go around and run a mile repeats at 5K. Like that'll probably be pretty tough for you if you're beginning, right?
Right.
But
Right.
if you're doing a marathon, like almost the whole way through, you could start with 2 miles at marathon pace. Then
Mm-hmm.
in 2 weeks, do 4 miles. Then try to do 5 miles. Then 6 miles. Work your way up
Mm-hmm.
versus just saying. And this is what I get a lot too. So I have people ask me, "Hey man, I want to start running. Where do I need to start?" A mile a day. And they're like, "I can do a mile." Okay. See if you can do a mile every day for 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
Then they get through, because the thing is with that, consistency is the key to me. Like that's my motto. Consistency is key,
Mm-hmm.
along with one or two other things too. But like if you're consistent, like you're going to be a lot better off than the person that runs 3 days a week. Even
Mm-hmm.
if you're doing not as many miles as they're doing, your body is still doing it every single day. If
Mm-hmm.
you go out and throw a baseball against the wall every day, at the end of a couple of months, you're going to be able to throw that baseball pretty darn good wherever you pretty much want to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I tell people is if you're being consistent with running, like your body will adapt to it and it'll get used to saying, okay, hey, here's what I'm supposed to do. Here's what I'm supposed to do. And, when you can do that, then, I mean, heck, you'll get better. You should at least.
For sure. I think a lot of people view, for whatever reason, they view throwing a ball as a unique skill. But
Yep.
people do not view running as a skill. They view it as like everyone knows how to walk,
Yep.
so everyone should know how to run.
Yep.
Walking, if you can walk, then you can run. But
Yep.
running is a skill, and running fast is a skill, and
Yeah.
running decently well for a long time is a skill, and running beautifully for a really long time is a skill. And these are all different skills, and you have to train a skill in order to get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
So the best way to do that is to be consistent. It's to
Yeah. Do it.
even if it's only a little bit, like doing it every day or doing it,
Mm-hmm.
consistently. That
Yeah.
it's key.
Yeah. Because I mean, heck, I have friends that have gone. Oh man, I have a buddy right now. He lives in Colorado. You probably see if you go to Runner's World, type in Colby Meeman, like has this whole article on him, and he's like living in a van, like in Colorado, working at a running store, working for
Nice.
this awesome company. It's called Stride. They like measure like power output of like, so they're basically taking what they did with cycling and putting it towards running, which
Oh, very
I
cool.
think it's pretty interesting. And I'm, doing a lot of research and stuff on that right now. But like, he's the kind of person that he's run every single day for like 7 years, something like that.
Wow.
He's just going, man. So
Yeah. I don't think I could do that. Like
yeah,
when I was in college, there were guys on my team who were like, they would like pull out their logs. It'd be like they'd
yeah,
count how many consecutive days. Like, oh, I've got like 200. That's 6.
yeah. I mean, you
That
can
was
see
usually
mine.
my
I got mine, man. All the days in it. So,
Yeah.
but I think I've got every day from February 24th, 2012
Wow.
written in a logbook. So
That's crazy.
yeah, it is, man. It's fun to look back though sometimes and just be like, wow, this is what I did.
Yep.
Like, and I can do way better than that now. So
Yeah.
like, so I remember I was looking back and there was like a 8 mile race and I ran like 28:05, something like that my freshman year. And I was like, man, I'm doing like tempos faster than that now, running
Wow.
5:20 pace for tempo runs. I'm like, how far have I came, and I'm still in my prime here,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You're not done getting faster.
no, not at all. I'm trying to get that. I don't know if I can quite hit the Olympic trial standard for the marathon, but I think I can get pretty darn close. Yeah, that low 220 range should be somewhere in the wheelhouse.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, yeah. You won't know unless you try.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
gotta go for it.
Yeah.
So, I remember, um, after you graduated, went off to college, you were still around sometimes, especially during the summers. And so I'd see you, up at Modern Fitness every once in a while. And I think one or two summers you came and like worked with us during the summer and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but once you graduated and then got your first coaching job, I was like, all right, we're gonna see what Luke's up to. And then I remember, I think it was when we were setting up for 5K for it was one of the 5Ks for Jaren's fundraising tournament thing.
Yeah.
And we were setting up or tearing down. I think we were setting up, and you were telling us about just like how crazy a change you were seeing in your high school athletes. So tell us a little bit about what it was like coaching high school athletes and how you went. Where was it again? Was it
Melissa?
Yeah. And how like that program is
yeah, they were good. They were really, really good, and they still are. So kind of when I got there, I had like 5 kids show up. I had 5 kids show up to the first day, I was like, and one of them was my brother that I forced to go, It was pretty awesome that I got to coach him. But when I showed up there, like I had these 5 kids and I just basically like, I trained them like college athletes. They weren't doing the highest like volume and all that stuff, but I trained them like college kids, like I'd been trained, I just gave them high intensity stuff and they did really well with it. And I had 3 8th graders that would show up, and just, like, hey, I can't really coach you, but you can kind of just run with the guys, and they would just go out and just run. So anyways, the change happened really, really fast with the high school kids because they just believed in what I said and they did it. And the fact, like I said earlier, there's no special magic pill. So these kids showed up every single day over the summertime, right? I was there, they were there, and so my first year there, we ended up winning the regional title. It's not conference, it's district in high school in Texas. And that's the first time they ever won the regional title, like ever in school history. So we had a kid finish first And then we had like just bam, bam, bam right there, you know. And after the race, I was like, man, it's going to be close because we had some really, really good teams.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up beating the team that got second place at the state championship last year.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, like, you know, we were super excited and that kind of stuff. And then like went to state and we finished seventh at the state championship. So it was okay. You know, it was like a really horrible meet day that day. But I had my first ever, you know, top 10 qualifier at the state championships. He got eighth place. And then I had a couple other get, you know, it's like USATF CCA, like all team or whatever, something all state team.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that was a pretty good year. And then we
Mm-hmm.
had 3 eighth grade kids that were going to come and be on the team next year. And one of them is Judson Grier. He just ran, as a sophomore, ran 15:02 in the 5K, 9:05. Yeah, 9:05 in the 2 mile and 4:14 in the mile. So as an eighth grader, when I was training him, um, like he ended up running 4:33 in the mile as an eighth grader. He was like the number one eighth grader in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his older brother Trace was a really good runner too, and he kind of helped me out with him. And you know, together, like he was just a tough kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then Carson Ross was another one that was pretty good. I think he went like 5:15 or something, like 5:12, something like that in eighth grade. And then Lucas Tausch was another one, and he was like right at low 5, like 5:01, 5:02.
Mm-hmm.
So to have 3 eighth graders coming onto your team that already have the mindset of, hey, I'm going to be good, you know, and they training at that high level,
Mm-hmm.
like I was like, all right, like, you know. So then my second year there, we had um, 3 kids sub 16 and like 2 more like under 17. And then the team went from like 7 to 8 runners to like 20 runners.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, hey, we got to get more jerseys because we got like 20 some odd kids now, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so I had a couple of the girls would show up and run too with us. So I went from having like literally like 6 people to like having like 30 to 40 people in the summertime running with us. So it wasn't the fact that I was doing anything special. I was just being present,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and those kids would show up and rock and roll. And I mean, they would go, man, you
Yeah.
know? So, but the success came like, I mean, we were just doing basic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
1Ks at, you know, I call it CV pace, which is like your 10K race pace. And then, you know, we would do long runs and they just put the miles in, you know, and then when we get out to race, like we knew we were the best out there and we would just go kick everybody's tail, you
Yeah.
know. And my last year there, the second year, I had, you know, like I said, a kid go 15:30, a kid go 15:40, another kid right at 16, 16:12, 16:30, 16:40 kind of range, you know.
Yeah.
And then we won the regional title again back to back, and then we went to state and got fourth. Um, so we were one runner away from getting potentially winning or getting top 3. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we ended up losing. We ended up getting fourth by like 5 points or something like that. And we had a kid that didn't have his best day. But I mean, in cross country, that it happens, man. You got to
Yep.
show up on the day of. So,
Yep. You
um,
got to have 5 guys
mhm,
pull out some magic.
exactly. So we had one guy that just didn't have a great day, and the other 4 did a really, really good job. And then, you know, we just came up a little short. So,
Mm-hmm.
but that was the highest finish in school history that they had, and those kids earned it, man. So then we got to the track, like the fire just they lit a fire, man. I mean, I had 5 kids sub 4:45 in a mile.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a girl run 5:23, eighth grade girl. She was eighth grade,
Wow.
sorry. Yeah,
Holy
she was
cow.
really, yeah, she was fast too. But I mean, and then Judson, he got second and third state meet in the 2 mile and the mile. Um, So I mean, we had a really good team,
Mm-hmm.
but and the fact was that it was cool. And Melissa, it was cool to be, a distance runner. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, like we got a cool coach, like young coach. He still runs with us, that kind of stuff, And like,
He's
they
got
would go,
tattoos.
yeah, exactly. And they would go around and be like, hey, y'all's coach doesn't even hang out with y'all or play like play your sport with you,
Mm-hmm.
and but our coach is out there running with us sometimes,
Yeah.
like I'll run with them on Sundays, or like I'd literally be sitting there like in practice, and I'd get up at 4:30 and go run and end up back at the school like when they get there at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, getting a bunch of high school kids up at 6 a.m. like, and they had a 10-minute rule. They had to be there 10 minutes early. So
Mm.
parents probably weren't so happy with me, but I mean, the kids would, call me sometimes and be like, Coach, like my mom isn't waking up. All right, I'll come pick you up, man. So I'd go pick them up and come back, and literally, like, I mean, the kids would be up and ready to go, and their
Yeah.
parents just wouldn't, whatever the case may be. So,
Yeah.
they just had the drive, man. And that
Yeah.
was,
They're
and that's, and that,
motivated.
yeah,
They're hungry
exactly,
for it.
exactly. So, it was probably one of the toughest decisions ever to leave that group to come
Mm-hmm.
to Commerce, but I felt like it was a good transition and a really good, a good step in the right direction for me. I got a great staff here, and we've got some great runners. Kind of transitioning into the college group.
Mm-hmm.
Because training high school kids and college kids is pretty similar. Um, you know, the college kids can handle a little bit more work, a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
volume, those kinds of things. Um, but like I got here, and we kind of had to restart mentally,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the kids were just like, hey, kind of beat down or whatever the case may be, right? Worn out, those kind of deals. So,
Mm-hmm.
we saw huge improvements too at the college level. Like, I mean, we literally like had a team that didn't train. Like I said earlier, if you don't train during the summertime, like it's going to be tough for you to be successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we had a group that didn't really train. They were in between coaches, all those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we ran a time trial, 2 mile time trial, and my fastest guy ran 10:25. My fastest girl ran 12:40. So the guy ran like 5:15 pace, and the girl ran like 6:20 pace. Right. So that's not
Not where
that
you
would
want to be.
yeah, exactly. So I'm not literally
Yeah.
that group of high school kids was running faster than that.
Yeah.
So I just sat down with the whole team, was like, hey, here's what we got to do to get where we want to get. That kid that ran 10:25, like 6 months later, ran 15:10 on the track.
Wow.
And that's, I mean, 4:49 pace versus 5:15 pace, like a 30-second difference. Like, okay,
Yeah. And
and
another mile.
exactly. Exactly. So, and then that girl that ran 6:20 pace, she ran 5:46 pace and ran 17:40 or 17:50, for 5K.
Wow.
So that's huge improvements.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the fact, it was just the fact that they were putting the work in and just believing in it. Like, and keep going back to that because like I could tell you a workout we did, but that workout means nothing, you know?
Yep.
It's the belief, and that's the big thing is if you believe in a program and you believe in kids and you believe in people, then they'll do anything that you want. And that's how I feel like I am as a coach is I go, okay, hey, like, I don't care if you're in last place or you're in first place. Like, if you're giving me everything that you have, I'll give you everything that I have during the point
Mm-hmm.
because I never want to be the coach that, turns my back on somebody whenever they're giving their best effort or something like that. Because, like you said, there's days that you feel really, really good, like you can conquer the world. And there's
Mm-hmm.
also days that you feel like, all right, hey, like I'm dead, I'm toast.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll know as soon as you get out there. And just before the race, you may not know. You may go, oh man, my leg's a little sore. And then you get going, you're like, oh, okay, I feel better.
Mm-hmm.
But there's days that you get going and you just look over and you're like, we got only at one lap. I got 10, I got 12, 11 to go. Oh
Yeah.
God, this is not good. So, we try to limit those bad days, but they do happen,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I kind of explain to people is I I'm pretty honest as a coach, and I would tell you like, hey, that was really good, or hey, that was good. We got some things to work on, or that was not good at all. Like we've got to work on some stuff now. So and it's the honesty, man. Like I would tell
Yeah.
those high school kids, like literally, I had a chart, and they were like, Coach, what do we need to do to win a state championship? Like they wanted the top. They didn't care about regionals. They didn't care about district. They didn't care about nothing else,
Yeah.
right? What do we have to do to win a state championship? And I told him, I said, you have to have 5 guys that average 1630 or under.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we went out and we ran, I think we averaged 1634 or something like that, right? At the state championship. And we got 4th place.
Yeah.
And
that's what it takes. Yeah.
And the team that beat us, they averaged 1620. And the second place team averaged like 1628. And then the third place team averaged 1640, but they just had their number 5 guy was a little bit farther ahead than ours. So, I mean, right day, we, get second, maybe even first, because we had one kid that just fell off the back end a little bit. And like I said, he had one of those bad days on the day that we needed it to be good. So, but heck, 4th place is still pretty good,
Still
state
pretty awesome.
But that's kind of that, and the big thing is with distance running, you're just believing, believing that you're supposed to be in the place you're supposed to be, those kinds of things, especially when you're really competitive. So, yeah,
that's awesome. So we've touched on some of these kind of as we've been talking, but like, what do you think? Okay, so let's say a high school runner, he's got aspirations to run in college, and he's like, what are the 4 most important things for me to focus on while I'm in high school?
Yeah. What I
Okay, hold up one second, man.
All right.
So 4 most important things for a high school athlete who wants to run at the next level.
So the thing that I would say is obviously consistency. You need to be a year-round runner. You need to run in the summertime. You need to run during the season, run during the winter, those kinds of things. That's going to make you a lot better just if you do that. So the consistency is one thing that I really like to see, because that's when you get to college, that's what we're going to have to do. You're going to run full time all the time, right? And then so the consistency. And then I like to see, so I'm just saying, like, if I go to a meet and I watch a kid run, right? Because there's some things that only that paper can tell you. Like if I go and I say, okay, hey, this kid ran 4:20. Okay, cool. How does this person react to stress or to, people pushing them or things like that? Because there's a lot of kids that if they're running, like they come from the small town like me and you did, it's a lot easier for us to go out there and beat Joe Schmo and run 4:25 by ourselves than it is to get pushed and run for something else, right? So I like to see how a person finishes a race. I don't really like during the middle. Okay, I can change that, but I like watching the last like 400 meters. And if they're in a race, how do they react? Or they're finished. Do they stop before the line or do they stop after the line? Because that is something like I literally have walked away from a kid because he stops like 5 meters before the line and walked across the line.
Wow.
That's the things to me that you can't teach. You can't teach like toughness or like wanting to do those things. So the consistency, like how you actually, go about carrying yourself or something, your mental fortitude, those kind of deals, I guess. And then, belief in yourself and belief in your coach, because there's a lot of kids that go, my coach is just some random dude. They don't know what they're doing. Okay. Then you're already 2 steps behind somebody else. Right. And if your coach doesn't know a lot, research, go get a book, go get, some different things like Jack Daniels, the running formula, Joe Vigil's running to the top. I mean, there's millions of books out there that you can go, hey, coach, I did this. Do you think we can implement this? And most of the time, if they're a softball coach or a baseball coach or whatever the case is, they're going to be like, yeah, heck yeah. It's in this book. It might be good. Might as well be good.
Yep.
I mean, unless, if you have somebody that doesn't really know what they're doing, then don't just say, hey, they don't know what they're doing. I don't care about them anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what sometimes I have high school kids reach out to me and say, hey, coach, I'm coming to Commerce so during track season, can you send me workouts? No, I can't, man. Like, you believe in your coach, you do what your coach says, and you'll be all right. Once you get here, you'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do believe, then whenever you get in a race, you're going to say, okay, hey, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I know I can do this because of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so there's those three. And then the last one, I would just say, workout-wise, I would say add tempos to your workouts. So, that 75%, 75 to 80% of like your 2-mile pace, do that. So, about 30 seconds off of, 20 to 30 seconds off of your race pace for your 2-mile.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you need to be doing. Tempo work will make you so much faster. I've had kids that, come back off of tempos, like just doing tempo aerobic work, and go run a PR in the mile. Because they're more aerobically fit than they've never been. So whenever you do those tempos, you're basically just driving up your VO2 max and making it where you can run faster, longer, easier.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of thing. So those are the 4 things that I would really focus on. The consistency, how you carry yourself, belief in your coach and yourself, and then adding tempos. Those are that's just some simple things that you can do to really, really boost your running as well as, take you to the next level.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. No, I wish I had that advice when I was in high school because I could have used literally all of those things. Like I was definitely pretty arrogant with regards to I thought I knew more than my coach. And
I did too. I was the same way.
Because of that, I know that I was shooting myself in the foot with a lot of stuff. Like I was just like, man, I should be doing this or I shouldn't be doing this. And instead of just being like, no, like whatever he says, I'm going to do it. I still ran decently well, but my whole senior year, I think my whole junior and senior year would have been better if I wasn't so arrogant. And so just, and yeah, tempos would have been helpful. I don't think I did too much of that. So
yeah, I did a lot of interval work, Yeah, I was good at the 800, but the 5K, not so much.
It's crazy how so many kids think that they're going to be a middle distance runner when they get to college, and it's like, nah.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be running a little bit longer. Like, there's not too many who stay there or who drop down to shorter races.
Yeah. Unless if you're, a sub 158, 800 kid, under 420 in the mile, that's usually, or even, I take 400 runners and make them 800, 1500 runners. If you're running 50, like with our program, our 400, our head coach has a really, really good 400 squad. They won the indoor national championship this past year for Division II. And, he had a kid that was going 45, and then the rest of the team was going like 46 to 47 seconds. Wow. And then we have guys sitting on the sideline that are 47, 48 second guys, Mm-hmm. So if you come into college and you go, I ran 50 seconds, that's not really going to do much for us, man. You're going to, so I'll take those 50-second quarter guys and say, all right, hey, let's put just a little bit more work on you and make you an 800 guy, 800, 400. Mm-hmm. And if that kid goes, okay, hey, and goes back to that belief, okay, hey, I believe in coach, he can get me where I need to be. Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to make him, a 153, 154 second quarter or 800 guy, Mm-hmm. Which a 153 second guy is a lot better than a 50-second quarter guy,
For sure.
When you look at it point scoring wise or different things like that. So, just for example, I had a kid that came in this year. He was a 400, 800 kid. That's it. He ran the 800 like for fun kind of thing. And he started the year off like a 203 or something like that. Just really out of shape. Had some trouble last year. And then, he ended up running 154 this year. So a huge jump, like almost 9 seconds, which is crazy.
That's enormous, yeah.
Yeah. And, it was just the fact that he stayed consistent. He trusted me. He ran a 1500, ran a mile, ran those things. And like whenever he got a lot better, then he got that confidence. It was like, oh, hell yeah, let's go, And then he jumped out and popped out and scored at the conference meet whenever he was like 20th or 30th on the list, and got top 8. And it was pretty awesome, to see those kinds of things. So.
Yeah, I think that's another very valuable piece of information for younger runners is like be willing to try other events and be willing to train for other events. Like I was a 800 and mile guy in high school, and my best event was the 3K steeplechase in college.
Yeah.
So like I still ran the 800. I still ran the mile 1500, but my best event was where I could utilize all of that speed.
Yeah.
And put it into something where, most steeple runners are 5K runners who weren't the best at the 5K. There were already guys on their team who were really good at the 5K, and so they were looking for another event. So they were like, oh, well, I'll drop down and do the 3K steeplechase. Well, I could turn the 3K, which is 7.5 laps.
Yeah.
I could just sit on the leaders for essentially a mile.
Yeah.
Or 5 laps. Off. Yeah, I would turn it into a 2-lap race. I would turn it into my favorite event, the 800.
Yeah.
With hurdles, just because all I had to do was sit, and then I was like, oh, okay. Well, these guys are definitely not going to be able to keep up. So, but that took kind of a change in mindset because I didn't really want to run 3K. I wanted to run the mile or the 800.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. One thing that I find pretty interesting is, so this past week I was in Colorado Springs for a cross-country coaching clinic, and Tom Hunt was talking, which he used to hold the American record and a couple other things in the 10K, like really, really fast, high school kid and into college at Arizona and those kind of things. He said at the 2012 Olympics, in the 800, their last lap was right at 52 seconds. In the 1500, their last 400 meters was 52 seconds. In the 5K, their last 400 was 52 seconds. And in the 10K, their last 400 was 52 seconds. So in all 4 of those races, from 800 to 10K was 52 seconds split last 400. So that shows you that just because you have speed doesn't mean you can't run other events, because you have to have the speed at the end to kick if you want to be a high level athlete, you know, and, if you run the mile and you run 4:25 and you can't close in sub 60, then, maybe you need to bump up a little bit. And then, after running 5-minute pace, then you can close fast, whatever the case may be. So that's something that, you need speed everywhere you go, not just for the 800 or 400 or whatever the case may be. So.
Yep, that's so true. That's so true. So let's say somebody wants to reach out to you. They've got a question for you. They've got something they want to talk to you about. How do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so, obviously I have like Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. If you just look up Luke Scribner, you can find me pretty much anywhere. But also like how I do my training, like on the side, I do like personalized coaching, $30 a month, pretty cheap, that kind of thing that I, help people out. I send them out a schedule and detailed specifically to them. This isn't like a couch to 5K kind of program. It's okay. Hey, where are you at? What do you want to train for? Like, it's very specific, and I'll have a lot of feedback. It's not going to be something where I just send it to you and just say, okay, hey, I'll talk to you in a month. The people that I do train currently, like Landon and Michael and those guys, we talk almost every single week, and say, okay, hey, how did the workout go? Oh, you felt like crap. All right, hey, let's change something up. Or, I have a guy that's going to France to do like this biking thing. So we're implementing some more biking in. He's still getting the aerobic development that he needs, but we're adding some biking in. So, but then you can email me, luke.runnomad@gmail.com. And that's how I email back and forth everybody. And, worst case scenario, if you can't remember that or whatever, just find me on social media and just send me a message, and I can kind of help you out there. I'm willing to help out anybody, man. I coach, I coach my mom right now. I gave her a big old long training program. She's trying to get ready for a marathon, so she doesn't believe that she can do it, but I know she can. But so awesome. It's pretty much 10-minute milers to 4-minute milers. I can pretty much coach anybody. It's just doing the right things to the right people. So
sweet, awesome. Yeah. And then any last words of advice or pieces of important information you have for anybody listening?
Words of wisdom. Yeah. So kind of my big motto that I say is motivated people find a way. So it kind of comes from the Pavo background and a couple of my buddies, but I always say that. I always say it because if you're motivated and you want to do something, it doesn't matter like what the excuses are. You can get it done. So if it's cold outside, all right, wear a jacket or run inside or what, and it can go for anything in life. If you want something bad enough, you can do it. So that's one thing that I live by, and I tell my athletes all the time, like if they come in and they go, man, coach, I don't know if I can do this. I just go, what am I gonna say? And they go, motivated people find a way. Like you'll figure it out. And I really do. Like I don't even have to say it anymore. They know. And once you truly believe that, like I always say this, if the single mom with a low income job can take care of 2 or 3 kids, like why can't you reach your goal of training whenever you're living in a pretty lavish lifestyle? Because there's a lot of people that take things for granted, man. I was literally talking about this yesterday, and I had like a sandwich that my grandma made me. I had lettuce and tomatoes and onions and salt and pepper, and it was just the best, and I was just sitting there just eating that sandwich, and I looked at my buddy and I was like, man, it's about the little things in life, So, if I can be motivated enough to go, okay, hey, I don't need anything special. I can, pair of running shoes, shorts, and just go. Then I'm gonna reach my goals, man. Or I'm gonna try.
Yep.
So that's probably the last thing that I would, really reach out to people and say is motivate people to find a way. If you write that on your window, write that on your hand, whatever the case may be, like if you want something bad enough, you can do it.
You'll find a way.
Heck yeah, man.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, that's really good advice. Luke, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This has been really awesome. Yeah. I can't wait to have you back on again to fill us in on how the program's doing and how all your athletes are doing and all that. So.
All right, man. Thanks for having me out.
For sure. Alrighty, y'all. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for watching or listening.